This is a model of the Ham-Ham Clubhouse from Hamtaro, made entirely from garbage. I'm Geoh, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So if you're not a Hamtaro fan, quick rundown is the series revolves around this titular hamster who leaves his owner's cage when she's at school and goes on adventures with other hamsters or ham-hams in the area. It's probably one of, if not the cutest anime series ever. In the anime, the ham-hams usually rendezvous in an underground clubhouse hidden under a tree that's accessed through a series of tunnels. It's a really cool space, and I always wanted to build it to house my Hamtaro figures that I have way too many of. What's funny is they actually made the clubhouse, except it looks like this. Now, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it looks more like a Sylvie and Family's playset rather than a Hamtaro toy. They eventually did make a toy that looks like the clubhouse, but like all good things, was available in Japan only and never in North America. Even then, as cool as it is, it could be better. This front view of the clubhouse seems to be where all the action is, so I decided that's what I'd build, which included this main foyer, an elevated bit with Snoozer's bed, and a set of stairs with a balcony. Since it's meant to be underground, I decided that encasing it all in a cave-like shape would be ideal. I started by compiling as much reference material as I could, including scouring books, hours of episodes, and obscure Hamtaro media, with one of the coolest art pieces I found along the way being this print from the French-Canadian DVD release. Using episodes was difficult because A, you can't legally stream or buy the show unless you own it on DVD like me, and B, depending on what episode you are watching, elements of the clubhouse change from episode to episode, specifically with size and color, and elements added to contour to that episode's storyline. I couldn't believe that this show with talking hamsters would have such unrealistic continuity. To start the build, the base began as a 30 by 30 centimeter wooden canvas from the dollar store, which was ideal because it wasn't too big, but not really small either. From there, I etched out a rough estimate of where I wanted everything to be and began making the shapes of the main structure with cardboard. To make it look as little like cardboard as possible, most of the corrugation was covered with masking tape and hard finish Mod Podge, which, as a warning, I will repeat that process a lot. For the second floor, I extended it beyond the base with a curve and filled the back hastily with some random cardboard scraps. The stairs came next. I used thick cardboard for the walls and thinner card from a cracker box for the steps.
Le fromage!
While gluing, I used painter's tape to hold the angle of the cardboard while the glue dried. Once it was, more masking tape and Mod Podge came in to once again seal the edges and any imperfections. It was kind of useless considering it's all going to be covered soon, but that's the way she goes.
That's the way she goes?
That's right. That's the way she goes. That's what I said.
Once the steps were glued, the process was duplicated for the second flight. When they were done, a cardboard backing of the rock face was cut and glued. And then the stair sections were glued together and then glued to the base and the cardboard wall. That's a mouthful. The placement wasn't 100% perfect as there was a slight gap between the taller part of the stairs and wall, but that was all filled in with the worst way possible with a little hot glue and masking tape.
Oh my god, that was beautiful.
After, cardboard was added to surround the walls of the second level, and that eventually led to the roof of the cave. Wait, is this a roof? Or would it just be the peak? Anyway, I don't know. To make the rounded dome shape, I decided to use tinfoil. Now this was not the most fun to do, especially as the hot glue would just heat the foil, making it hard to actually secure it down. But once it was in, it was perfect. With the cardboard base done and my fingers burnt, my big idea came into play, which was to cover all surfaces with paper mache to make the rocky texture of the clubhouse's walls. I had never really done paper mache since I was a kid, so I was really excited to incorporate it into one of my builds. The mix I used was part flour and part heated water. The first mache pass went good, but I felt it was a lot smoother than it should be. The next day, I started on a second pass, this time specifically making the portions uneven or extra bumpy, which really sold the rock effect. If these were real rocks, they'd certainly deserve to be rated. Once it dried, I did some light sanding to the base, then coated the areas that were mached with outdoor Mod Podge to protect it prior to the painting process, which started with a custom mix of yellow paint with a dab of brown and lots of white added. This was to aim for the pale brownish color of the clubhouse in the show. Once that dried, the textures were added by dry brushing a burnt umber color onto all the surfaces. After I added the pale pink highlights, which included all the steps and floors, and lastly touched up the floor, which was a turquoise color. Of all the amenities of the clubhouse, one interesting addition was this slide, the perfect playset edition. This was something I really had no idea how to take on due to its odd shape. Firstly, I started by figuring out the size and making sure it would be able to slot into the already established floor height. After cutting it out surprisingly well as far as my luck goes, I made a duplicate side, curved both pieces to the radius needed, and trimmed off some of the side in order to make the heights parallel. I don't have any video of it, but a wooden dowel was inserted into the top and bottom of the slide, and then paper was laid on top for the slide surface. As usual, I really didn't have a clue what I was doing, but after a layer upon layer of Mod Podge, it seemed to hold. I hit it with a few layers of filler primer, which really helped make it a lot cleaner than it actually was. Then it was painted and hit with a coat of Krylon chalky finish to give it a flat look. And now with the big stuff out of the way, let's talk about the accessories and furniture. Probably the most well-known feature of the clubhouse is the central table the hams usually have meetings and meals at. The top was made from cardboard and intentionally cut to have an odd-looking shape, and legs were made from paper straws. Another key element would be Boss's Chesterfield Chair. This again was cardboard with masking tape, coated with Mod Podge, and once complete was given a coat of mustard yellow. The second floor is basically Snoozer's resting area, so I had to make his bed, sock, and bedside table. His bed, or technically nest I guess, was made from this weird netted packaging material. It was torn up and glued to the cardboard base. His pillow was another cut piece of cardboard, covered in masking tape particularly to give it this curve. And finally was his sock, which was, to mix things up, a piece of paper, covered in masking tape and Mod Podge. The sock was made to fit around the Snoozer figure I had, and I kept him in the sock while it dried so it would contour around his body. It was painted yellow with some dark blue stripes. Lastly, the bedside table was made from, you guessed it, more cardboard, but with wooden dowel legs, with the lamp coming from the original house that I showed at the beginning. The Ham-Hams may be rodents to some, but for rodents they have excellent taste in art, including these framed pictures that hang on the stairs. I drew this one, which I assume is a dragonfly, and my friend Fish did the flower. The backing was cardboard and masking tape as usual, and the frames were made from some thinner wood sticks. There's also this one, which I assume is a bat, or maybe a cat. Yeah, I'm guessing a cat. I guess the Ham-Hams are going with the what might kill you makes you stronger thing. This was hand-drawn and then glued to some cardstock and then glued to the wall. A keen-eye viewer might have noticed this hole in the rock face earlier.
Where's the door hole?
This was for a door. To make this, I started with a hinge which I stole from this wooden box from the dollar store and screwed into the base. This was, of course, before I knew you can just buy the hinges on their own. Oh well. A door was cut from some board, and well, it's not cardboard, but it's like cardboard. Anyway, with the whatever board, I cut the general shape and slowly sanded it to give it a rounded top. After it was perfected, it was painted green with a piece of cardstock added to represent a window. Then it was screwed into place. And with all the key details done, I was left with one final addition, the lighting system. Now, my original idea was using this set of Christmas Village lights or lamps I got at the dollar store. The set had 2 bulbs connected to one battery pack, which was perfect. I ended up destroying the lamps to get the bulbs, which was slightly wasteful and painful. But after I drilled 2 holes into the house, inserted them in, they were perfect. Well, perfect until I left them in for 4 hours by mistake and the bulbs burnt out with no way to replace them. So in a bit of desperation, I ordered this LED lighting strip, cut off a small piece, stuck it in, and it not only worked but was a lot brighter. So the lights are on, but it doesn't look like anyone's home, so I think it's about time we have a reveal. And with that, the Ham-Ham Clubhouse is done. Although there are a few things I'd like to change up, I still can't believe I was able to pull this off in the end, and I'm really happy with the output. And hopefully this will inspire you to make something too. I'd also like to announce that I now have a P.O. box open for fan mail. If you'd be interested to send something along, check out the description or pinned comment down below. I don't want anyone to feel obligated to send anything, but I'll try to share anything I do receive on the second channel. Also, while you're down below, feel free to check out my Linktree, where you'll find links to my Instagram, Twitter, and Ko-Fi. Any and all support helps. I've also recently joined the affiliate program for CD Japan, so if you're interested in getting some cool CDs, DVDs, and books from Japan, look no further. You get cool stuff, and hey, you help me out too. But to end off, I've been Geoh, thanks for watching, stay hamtastic, and I'll see you next time.